Mike here. Just bringing you a quick knife review. I did a written review on this one and it kind of ended up, well, let's just say the thread got locked. Basically I hit on some points that I really was silly for hitting on, but anyway, as you might have noticed, I have the knife here and I've got some other things, but we'll get to that in a minute. This is the BRK&T Trail Buddy. It's a new offering designed by Mike Stewart, and you know, I have to say it's probably one of the best knives that he's made. I'll leave the stats out for now because it's kind of superfluous, but anyway, some things I really like about the knife: you got a ton of belly, which means that you have more blade per inch, and what are knives for but for cutting. That makes it an awesome cutter. I thought it would mainly be great for slicing, but it's turned out through my use in the woods that this knife will do everything. It eats wood like nobody's business. I haven't gotten to use it for it yet, but it should be excellent for skinning. This thing just exudes good design. One point that I really like is that when you're gripping it like this, your thumb lines up perfectly with the tip. So it gives you great control. You always know where that tip is. You can use it to your advantage. The tip gets small enough to drill very well with, though it's not the most efficient, but you know, whatever. The handle is very comfortable. It's not quite as contoured as say a North Star or Aura would be, but I think that makes it a little bit more versatile for grips, like when you choke up to do some skinning, if you want to do something like that, so you don't make a nice little nick in the intestines, that sort of thing. It ends up working out very well for that sort of thing. I actually prefer the lanyard loop here because it doesn't get in the way of my hand. If I have a lanyard here, it gets really fat and just is uncomfortable for me. You can, of course, grind off this rear loop if you like that. Gone, but personally, I'll take it. The blade is, as you can see, pretty dang thick, but that doesn't mean the edge is thick. It's actually a very, very fine edge, with, of course, a lot of steel backing it up because it's convex. So what this equates to is, again, it's an extraordinary knife for cutting, and that's what knives are for. I love the belly on it. I think that they made an excellent design choice going with great belly that comes to a very tight tip. Usually what I find in knives for myself is I have too much belly or too much tip. Let's say, for example, Highland Special for too much belly for me, and the North Star having too much tip. Now I wouldn't say necessarily too much tip, but it's all tip. I mean, that knife is bushcrafting knife to the nth degree. But in this knife, they made a perfect compromise between the two, in my opinion. If you had to baton with it, you could. It will do it just fine. It'll eat whatever you put in front of it, but that's why I have these two guys here to illustrate that I wouldn't recommend, well, not wouldn't recommend, you can do whatever you want to this knife and it'll take it, but knives are not designed for heavy woodwork, so it's really not even a factor if it can baton or not, because what the hell are you doing hammering your most important survival tool through a piece of wood? Anyway, I think that covers most of what I wanted to say about the knife itself, so that brings us to the sheath. The sheath is a new design from Sharpshooter. It's pretty good. I personally have a couple issues with it. It does have, you can either run your belt through both loops, and that will give you a vertical carry, and it can be left or right-handed cross draw, inverted, not inverted, what's the word, tilted. I personally carry my knives cross draw. I prefer it that way, and I like to have the tilt there because it makes it a lot more comfortable sitting down. It doesn't jab you and that sort of thing. What I find, however, is because I carry cross draw, it allows this thicker back portion to bow in like that, and what that means is, because this is thinner, when you are sheathing and extracting the knife, it wants to cut right there, and despite my best efforts, it's even started to do that a little bit. Also, when you're carrying it cross-draw, unless you have a belt that fills that well, it will move a little bit, which is fine, but just something to be aware of. And personally, I think the knife would be, or the sheath would be better off going either left or right-handed cross-draw, not ambidextrous. I think Reed might do well to bring this loop all the way across to here, and then just make this a smaller secondary loop for the vertical carry, but that's just my own opinion. One other thing is when you get this knife, all my Bark River knives, I like to, when I get them, push them in as far as they'll go. You don't want to do that with this one, because it can actually, it will poke down through, I don't know if it'll go all the way through, but I've gotten a good, probably ½ inch of penetration down at the end there, which is something I like to avoid. So try to keep about 1 inch between the bottom of this brass pin and the top of the sheath, and you'll be alright, especially if you wear it in that way. So anyway, I'd highly recommend any woodsgoer to get, in addition to an excellent knife, get an excellent hatchet. These things make a world of difference in woodworking. This is a Bark River 18-inch custom axe. They take a Wetterlings and made it, gave it a speed grind, made it, much thinner, much lighter, and gave it an excellent handle. Plus, since it's Bark River, you have their lifetime warranty of whatever you do to your tool, you can get it fixed. This is their camp axe, which is an excellent little tool. It's obviously a lot smaller, and it doesn't, this thing is a workhorse, but this is light, fast, and will do fine work really, really well. I love the design here because you can baton it really easily, make fine deep cuts into wood or baton through wood like that. One thing when you're using this, use it like a hammer. When you are swinging, you are closing your hand at the same time to give it extra velocity. If you just swing it like this, it's going to eat up your skin right there. So proper use of this is more or less like that. But anyway, that's just a quick review on this guy. I think I covered everything that I wanted to. Bark River Trail Buddy, I want to say, is probably one of Mike's top 5 designs. I would say it's pretty close to a masterpiece. Anyway, peace out.